And we are live. What's going on, everyone? It's Talks with Kenny. It's live with Kenny, actually, episode 80. There's a lot of things I wanted to talk about today, but I'm going to keep it short. As you know, this week, a lot of drama in the background happening. Brett Cooper's out on the Daily Wire. I don't want to make it a designated thing, maybe just a side conversation that I'm going to have. But all in all, honestly, I think they left amicably at most part. I mean, we all can speculate as to why she left. Some say money, some say more creative freedom, more time. Who knows? Who knows? But all I know is that in this media space, right? It's a game of you do a short term trade off for long term gain, or you do a short term a long term trade off for a short term gain. So she gave she got built up by the Daily Wire with the comment section. Then she decided to leave. Now her brand, like she's a recognizable face, and she can easily build back up her following. So it's about how fast you want it. You lose control. Everything's about trade offs. Enough to say about that. But I'm gonna go into the story that we all led up with. I hope you guys are enjoying the new thumbnails. Let me know in the comment section or in the chat how you guys are liking the new thumbnails. I'm trying something new. Obviously, every end of the year, I try to tweak something on the channel, and you guys seem to be enjoying the new thumbnail. But without further ado, let me get into the article. So, update: Nancy Pelosi falls and fractures her hip in Luxembourg. Speaker, let's look at it. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, 84, has reportedly been hospitalized as she has been in Luxembourg with the congressional delegation. She reported taking a fall and fractured her hip before being admitted to the hospital. According to the statements from her office, I don't know what's going on. That was weird. According to statements from her office from spokesperson Ian Kroeger, while traveling with a bipartisan congressional delegation in Luxembourg to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge, Speaker Emerita, I guess former speaker, that's a fancy way of saying former speaker, Nancy Pelosi sustained an injury during an official engagement and was admitted to the hospital for evaluation. Update: Nancy Pelosi broke her hip after taking a hard fall down a set of marble steps. Man, that got her hurt. At the palace in Luxembourg, she is 84 years old. As you know, Nancy Pelosi's been in politics for 34 years, if I remember correctly. She's been a California congresswoman since forever ago. I think she's older than Joe Biden, actually. And it's so, these people. I talk about it before, how these baby boomers, I don't know what she is. I think she is a baby boomer. How they hold on so desperately to power, right? There's a lady I always mention her, Dana Feinstein. She died in office. I could easily see Pelosi ending up being the same way. Mitch McConnell said he's retiring, I believe, next year, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure when he actually said he was going to retire, but it seemed like these people, the temptation of power is too strong to let go. I mean, she's worth $200 million, still working, still working. Everyone's making jokes on X saying that the White House or the Congress has become a nursing home for the elderly, and it's pretty nuts what's going on here in the in Congress. Like, you got Nancy Pelosi, 84 years old. She fell down a flight of stairs. Then you got Mitch McConnell. He fell too. Well, they're dropping like flies, and yet they still don't want to let go of their grasp on power. Right? DC official tells me that Nancy Pelosi has taken a fall in Europe and has been admitted to the hospital. She may need surgery, and she might not. She might have a broken her hip. This is sad, bro. In the house is supposed to be where the youngest, kind of the more younger crowds stay at, and the senator is supposed to be your elderly, you kind of your statesman type of thing. But honestly, I'm for age limit, term limits. I don't know, term limits, age limits, whatever comes first. But I think many people be in favor of a term limit. Hey, you can only serve 3 terms and then you're out, because I don't think this is very healthy for people to be so desperate to hold on to power. But that's enough about Nancy Pelosi. I think I said all my thoughts that I needed to say about Nancy Pelosi. I didn't want to focus too long on this story. I really want to get to this. America's returning to common sense, because New York mayor stuns a room full of liberals with blunt reality check about open borders. And it's your boy, you love him, you know him, Eric Adams. Eric Adams stunned a room full of liberal reporters with a blunt reality check about open borders and their link to sex trafficking. We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children, he reiterated. We don't know where they are right now in this country. This is, yo. And you know what Biden's doing, right? Like, imagine that. And I keep talking about this, is that Biden and the Democrats continue to prove that they are the party of America last. Like, this is getting ridiculous, right? We have 500,000 migrant children that we can't account for, right? Actually, what I'm doing, let's hear Eric Adams talk about it.
We have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now.
And you think Democrats care? Democrats letting sex criminals, rapists, that's illegals, leave the country. Like, how you make it make sense? And I'm gonna show you more, because remember the Democrats, they pretend that the immigration wasn't an issue when Republicans years past used to complain a lot about border security. And this is what I'm talking about, that America is kind of returning to common sense. Shout out to Dance with Incels. He says that people believe Nancy is smart enough to put out a hit on the CEO guy. Luigi ended. Conspiracy theory, but it's a little fascination. I don't know. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. There's some trade thing going on. Maybe not, but it's gonna be hard to prove any evidence on the Pelosi's. They like the Clintons. People mysteriously, that's inconvenient to them, is mysteriously hurt themselves. But I'm going back to the border issue, because the border issue, I think, is one of the most common sense kind of problems that I think anybody, apolitical, political, should be able to recognize. And there's a saying that runs around in conservative circles, where they say, if you want a liberal to understand the issues you're trying to articulate to them, let them experience it themselves. And these two people are going to talk about how it was a smart strategy for Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, to send illegals to these blue states, because it made America realize how bad the border is. Let's take a look, guys.
On the immigration front, there was a tendency amongst Democrats, and especially Democrats who are discussing the issue, so people who do interviews or are part of the media, to minimize it over the first 2.5 years when there were a lot of people coming in here. And I thought that it was a stunt, when they started busing migrants. They go to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
It was the smartest thing they ever did.
Well, it's interesting, because I have a friend who lives in Florida, and I said, what did you think of Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott taking some of these immigrants and moving them to northern states? And she said, I thought it was great, because nobody really was paying attention before that. And I do think that.
And also, the reason why a lot of people weren't paying attention is what the media focuses on. I talk about this all the time, how media likes to focus on white on black crime. But the results of data says that the biggest instance of interracial crime is black on white. But the media, all they show you is white on black. They nationalize, they put it everywhere. And a lot of these news media outlets, they're in these heavily blue cities and states, like New York. A lot of the media's in New York, California. This is where they reside. And when Republicans talk about how the border is an issue, they don't, oh, that's not an issue because they're so far away from it. They became sanctuary cities to virtue signal. And then when Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis took them up on their offer, they realized, oh, this is actually bad. Oh, damn. What? What do you mean my kid has to be homeschooled today because you're using the elementary school as a shelter for illegals? New Yorkers found out. And there's polls out there that majority of New Yorkers support Eric Adams deporting a lot of these criminal illegals. So to get Democrats to understand where you're coming from, you have to actually make them experience it. But my point as a conservative is, why do Democrats have to experience something before they can recognize the merit of an argument conservatives make? Because I talk about this a lot as an experience of my as a conservative. Democrats, liberals, progressive have a bad tendency to dismiss, to minimize your issues. When you bring out something, when you bring out a fact, they find some ways to discredit it, downplay it, minimize it, pretend it's an exaggerated problem. Bill Maher encapsulates everything that I'm talking about on this issue. If you want to see, look at Bill Maher when Dennis Prager told him, yeah, they're trying to put they're saying men can menstruate. Bill Maher looked at him like he was a crazy one. He started laughing at him. He said, that's not happening. You're in cuckoo land. Now he can't deny it. Now it's so much in his face. He's like, yo, the left has gone insane. Well, we try to tell you, but it had to hit you first before you recognize it. And this is a big tendency, the big problem with the left. And I'm gonna talk about it more, but this is how I think America is coming back to its senses again. But let's finish out the video.
This untold story was the strain on social services and communities, particularly along the border. This huge influx of immigrants was having. And I think the mainstream media, however you define that these days, kind of ignored that story to its peril.
Yep, they did. I want to stay on Eric Adams because Eric Adams, I couldn't believe the video when I saw it. I was like, no way Eric Adams is saying this, right? Before I go in, like Eric Adams is looking at the wind. He's like, I know where the wind blowing. New Yorkers polls are showing that they support mass deportation. He agreed to meet with Eric Holder. Here it is. Border czar Tom Homan reveals New York mayor is all in on deporting illegals. The liberal media will surely melt down over the news. Border czar Tom Homan reveals that the New York mayor Eric Adams has reached out to collaborate on deporting illegals. I plan on calling him either today or you guys seen this before. And that happened. That interview happened a while ago. I'm still trying to find the clip that I want to show you. Here it is. So here's breaking news. This is now. That was before. Tom Homan said he wants to meet up with Eric Adams, discuss it, talk about it. This is him after meeting him. Let's see what Eric Adams has to say.
Let's listen in.
Answering your questions over and over again for you already to have your preconceived notions and your distorted views on what I have articulated. We're going to protect the rights of immigrants in the city that are hardworking, giving back to the city in a real way. We're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New York.
I don't understand why it's so hard for liberals, the liberal media, to admit this, right? And this is what I'm talking about. It's like a call back to common sense. Common sense is if you can demonstrate it, if you can show your work, if you can show the proof, show the video, show the clip, there's no way in hell someone should be able to deny the fact that it's happening. Remember when on Twitter, on X, people put out stats. New York Post, I believe, put out the information that 3 out of 4 crimes that happened in New York was due to an illegal. I remember there was videos of illegals committing crimes and being released with their no cash bail, and the illegal immigrants were laughing, mocking the police, the NYPD. Y'all remember those stories online? I was like, wow, these illegals bold. They coming in here having no respect for your jurisdiction, no respect for your laws. And now the media wants you to have sympathy for them. Oh, you're going to deport them. We'll deport them together, as Tom Homan would say. But let Eric Adams finish.
workers. That was my conversation today with the border czar to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city. We're going to tell those who are here, who are law-abiding, to continue to utilize the services that are open to the city, the services that they have a right to utilize, educating their children, healthcare, public protection.
That's
and
where I
the
disagree
things
with you,
that
but
we have
go ahead.
long been proudful in doing so. But we will not be a safe haven for those who commit violent acts. We don't do it for those who are citizens, and we're not going to do it for those who are undocumented.
Exactly, right. And I showed the stories before. I think it was one of my videos that I spoke about with last time with illegal immigration. But there's a governor that wouldn't want to release a child rapist, that was an illegal child rapist, to ICE. She didn't want to release him to ICE. Craziness, like the lengths these Democrat governors are willing to go. And it's like, if you ain't coming down, it's like Democrats, if y'all don't come touch grass real soon, your party is over.
We made terrible mistakes in the past by preventing to keep our city safe from those who are committed repeated acts of violence, particularly these dangerous gangs that we have witnessed in our city, and we're not going to continue in that direction. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then I am leaving, because it's not going to matter what I respond to anyway. You have your preconceived thoughts already.
He's already calling out the media, though. That's crazy. That's crazy. What a 180, huh? That's what I'm saying. I feel like our country is coming back, going back to normal a little bit, right? Right? Is it safe to hope for that? I think we're coming back to normal a little bit, right? But just to put the nail in the coffin for the Democrats here, because I still think they're not enough of them are waking up. Joe Biden, our boy Joe Biden, the most popular president in U.S. history with 82 million votes. If you ask certain people think that's not the case, but I'll go with the numbers. Currently, the worst president in modern history, according to some polls. Americans consider him the worst president in modern history. Democrats will still say he's a better president than Donald Trump. The numbers don't show that. Guess what he is deciding to do? He's a dead man walking. I mean, a president on his way out. And you know what Joe Biden decided to do on our border wall? The Biden administration is deciding to auctioning out sections of the border. Make it make sense. So let me get this straight, Joe Biden. You're supposed to be the uniter in chief, right? And the border was it was at least top 2 for one of the reasons why people voted for Donald Trump. And you think it's a smart idea on your way out to auction out sections of the border wall, which is going to make it hard. That means you're going to make Trump re-spend the money to get the materials there to build the border wall. I know, people are going to call me biased. People are going to call me a partisan. People are going to say this is a political point, but can I not assume that he's trying to sabotage Donald Trump based on what he's doing right here? What purpose is it for the Biden administration to auction out sections of the barrier at the border? Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. But hey, this is politics for you. So I'll let the whole clip play out, give my voice a good 2-minute break, and then we'll jump on to the next story that I want to highlight to you in this live stream.
Is doing with parts of the southern border wall, the wall that's supposed to keep illegal immigrants out of the U.S. National correspondent William Lajeunesse has the incredible details from Los Angeles. Good evening, William.
Well, Brett, the amazing part is President Trump already said he wants to finish building the border wall. So why would President Biden sell something taxpayers already paid for, knowing it could be used? Yet we found huge sections of the wall on an Arizona highway leaving the border to be sold as scrap for pennies on the dollar. It's going to one of 3 locations in Arizona where President Biden is selling hundreds of tons of state-of-the-art steel wall.
Nasty work.
Taxpayers already paid billions for and ready to...
He's going to make us re-spend the money for Donald Trump to do it again. So that means Donald Trump will have to go to Congress, ask for the money again. That means This is the kind of government inefficiency that is the reason why I'm a big fan of Doge. This is what Americans need to pay attention to. Americans need to ask themselves this question. What is the purpose of Joe Biden doing that? Let's put our thinking hats on. Because on the Democrats, they don't want you to think. You think I'm lying? I got a clip for you. Democrats don't want you to think. Oh, we want illegals in the country because it helps the American economy. No, it helps you more, Democrat. Statistics say that 66% of illegals, if they had the opportunity to vote, they'll vote Democrat. You're seeing these people, you're giving them all these tax government benefits. They don't pay a single dime into the tax system, but you're giving them all these benefits. You displacing Americans out of school systems, out of public youth centers, YMCAs, to shelter these people over people that voted for you, pay your taxes, fund your government. Why are you putting them as such a high priority over your own constituency? Because these people will help you maintain political power. Political reasons. This is all political. This is screaming political. Joe Biden is a man that don't care no more, bro. Hey, I don't even think we haven't seen the craziest part yet. I just think we just scratching the surface of how crazy things are gonna be as we approach Trump's inauguration on January 20th. You selling out sections of the border wall for what, Joe Biden? You care? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Democrats are America last. They're Democrat first, America last. Anything in the benefit of this move benefits Democrats. Hey, let's make it harder for the next administration. Let's make the next administration spend more money. So that way, it'll be harder for them to put their agenda. So that way, it'll be harder for them to secure the border, which we benefit, by the way, by having illegals come in. They're going to come to our cities, boost up our population numbers, give us more House seats, solidify our political power in our state, give us more justification to raise taxes on our citizens to pay because, we don't have enough money. We got a budget shortfall. So I can continue paying my friends with their nonprofits. I can try to fix homelessness, but you pay me $20 billion to attempt to fix homelessness, but homelessness is still a problem. This happens in democratic cities, democratic states. But socialists, leftists still think the government should be doing these things. I digress. I think I went on a long rant. I was supposed to let this video play out, but I couldn't help myself.
To go in the ground when Trump takes office. According to the auction website, the government is taking bids starting at $5 each for each lot of 40,000 pounds of welded steel and concrete, fence, roughly 150 steel beams. Border Patrol agent Art Del Cueto inspected the bollards and said there was nothing wrong with the panels.
I mean, honestly, that's just a slap in the face, not just to the agents that are out there working, to the American public as a whole. They could have just left these panels alone.
Well, last year, the government sold more than 700 of the 30-foot steel segments for roughly $200 a piece, meaning taxpayers took a loss of about 10 grand for each one.
Government efficiency, Vivek and Elon Musk can't come fast enough. You heard that? You heard that. Your taxpayer money spent 10 grand for those things. Biden sold it for $200. Show me you care about the American people without showing me you don't care about the American people. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at there. I'll leave it at that. Yo, if you're not mad, hey, look, hey, and you wonder why they want to raise taxes on us. This woke stuff is honestly garbage, bro. So we're going to talk about government efficiency, right? I found an interesting post by Charmath. This is the first time I can remember in modern history where there's an enormous amount of business people being motivated to come and work inside an administration. I think the United States economy is too complex to be managed by politicians, theocratic, and that's true. Like I just showed you what happened. Biden's auctioning out the border wall, which taxpayer dollars paid 10 grand each for it, and he's selling it back for $200. That don't make any economic sense. You think a businessman will let the government sell something that the government paid 10 grand to buy and sell it off for $200? This is what happened. This has been a truism for a long time since Thomas Sowell was writing his books. Thomas Sowell talks about it all the time. Government face no consequences for being inefficient, for being wrong. When they put out a bad solution, they suffer no direct punishment. They're almost absolved from the consequences of their bad decision. This is a bad decision. If I buy a border wall for 10 grand and I only sold it back for $200, that I lost money. The government lost money. But the government, no, yeah, it ain't hurting us. We just wasting resources. The government is like a kid spending their parents' money. Parents go out, bust their ass to get the money, and the kid just squandered it. This is the government. We go out there, we bust our butt, work, stressful hours, getting stressed out by deadlines and all this stuff, right? Our valuable money, our valuable labor, our valuable time. They take taxes out of us, and they just squander the money. And then they get mad, oh, why do we need a government efficiency? This is why. Because Joe Biden is out here to sabotage Trump. He's selling border wall that he paid 10 grand for. The taxpayers paid 10 grand for, and he's selling it for $200. I can't get over that. And you mad that people want a businessman to run the government. This is why.
Here's an interesting tweet that I saw. Nick, can you just share it with the guys?
Oh, net worth of each one.
Now, the reason why it was interesting to me was not the net worth per se, but I think this is the first time that I can remember in modern history, at least, that I've been in the United States and following US politics, where such an enormous number of business people have been motivated to come and work inside of the administration. And I think that it creates this very interesting contrast and compare. I think that the Democrats would never have assembled a group of people like this, even though the Democratic Party has a version of this chart that they could have made. There's a lot of extremely talented business people that support the Democratic Party. The problem is that they believe it's deeply unfashionable to get strong, competent business people to take a pause in their business career and come work in government. And you almost look down on people that are successful. Whereas the Republican alternative here, if it creates a movement, so to speak, so that subsequent presidents tap folks on the shoulder, I think we'll be much better off. And the reason is pretty simple. I think that the United States economy is too complicated to be managed by theoreticians, by folks with random PhDs and absolutely no working experience in the real world.
I agree. I think this is going to be the future of politics. If you want politics to be solution based, this has to be the path we go forward as Americans. This is what we're going to continue voting for. Okay, what practical experience do you have in your field? Oh, all your life, Kamala Harris, you just been a public servant. You've been living off taxpayer money. Oh, nah, you got no practical experience. This is why you think that food companies are price gouging. Like you understand how this can hurt the economy because you never been on the other end of it. Being a public servant, being a government employee, you're almost insulated from all the negative consequences of the government. This is why, many people, I agree with his synopsis here, is that, we need people with working experience. We can't have a bunch of people who only have theories, who's only been in academia. And that's the biggest problem. Thomas Sowell, as you guys know, he's like my ideological kind of mentor. He talks about how academia, the enlightened, the intellectual, leftists, the reason why they dominate college, here's the not so secret of the left. The reason why leftists tend to dominate college, like majority of professors are leftists, why the most lefty, far left people are in academia, is because they're insulated from reality in a way, right? Bear with me. In academia, you can get away with just making theories, assumptions about things, right? You're getting your worldview, your opinion, and you put it behind education, just like the Alan Leckman guy with his keys. You can stay there in loony world because you're insulated. It's an echo chamber. You don't have to prove your work. That's the biggest appeal to academia, college, research. Research, you have to prove your ideas. This is why, like, the more hard science you go, the more conservative it tends to be. Because in the real world, right, when you over here, there's a difference between being a computer science teacher and working in computer science. This is how you're supposed to build an app. You're supposed to make it decoupled. You should make sure there's higher latency and all this stuff. But in the business world, in the real world, there's no perfect answer. The answer there is it depends. The answer is there's no silver bullets. How would you build Facebook? Well, it depends on our budget. Depends on how many engineers we have. It depends on the skill set of the engineers. Is it practical to do a solution like that? You go through a process of elimination, and you go with the most efficient answer. Okay, given our resources, given our money, we can do this path. But that's not best practices. It don't matter. This is what we're actually realistically able to do. And we have lost that in our government. And this is what makes me the most happy about Trump's cabinet picks and who he's surrounding himself with. He's not surrounding himself with theorists, like the economy lady that likes to argue with Scott Jennings. I'm about to show you a clip of her, but let's continue.
And when you bring those people in to oversee those PhDs, I think you probably get better outcomes. So I hope this becomes a standard, which is ask these very talented, clearly demonstrated, successful people with judgment to hit the pause for a year or 3 or 5, whatever it is, step into government, help the country, and then go back.
Yeah, just like civil service, just like, we have to pause our life.
Here's an interesting tweet
to do jury duty. It should be looked at the same way, because I'm tired of people with no hands-on experience making theoretical suggestions, and we're acting on theoretical suggestions, and then it tanks the economy because we're trying modern monetary theory. If you don't know what modern monetary theory is, go look it up. Go look it up. It's some of the most garbly goop-ish you ever heard in your life. Like, make it make sense where you can spend a lot of money and not suffer a penalty by spending outside of your budget. Here's our favorite person, our favorite economist. What's her name? I forgot her name. Catherine Campbell. Forgot her name already. They're going to have a discussion about Trump's doubt's ability to lower grocery prices despite vows. Honestly, even if Trump doesn't lower grocery prices, if he creates an economic environment where I can increase my money, where we have record high, all we need is the wages to grow. If the wages grow, it will be the same effect as if he lowered prices. So either or, Trump still has a path to resolve this problem. But, CNN, you know how they do. You know what they do. You know how they do. But this is an example of people who rely solely on theory and not look at outcomes. I digress. Let's get into the video.
Also have to say, for everybody who's going to sit out here tonight and complain about the campaign rhetoric, it was the Democrats who denied that they had anything to do with inflation for 4 years and tried to tell everybody during the election that, hey, you're imagining things.
Yep.
Prices.
The economy is good. Prices ain't going up. The economy is strong. Americans falsely believe that the economy is bad. But then we look, inflation's up 20% compared to last administration. Biden had the highest inflation rate in 40 years. You lied to me and said that inflation was transitory. But you want to hone in, Trump said he may not be able to lower grocery prices. Okay, Trump, if you're not able to lower grocery prices, can you create an environment where we can have a high increased wages to make up for that? Can you do that for me? Based on how Wall Street is reacting to Donald Trump, it seems possible.
Aren't really high. This is all in your imagination, and the American people soundly rejected that. I wouldn't mistake why Trump won the election. There was anger at Biden and Harris for their policies. They caused inflation. And of course, Trump is saying, I would like to bring price.
And this is what I'm talking about by theory versus practical, right? Trump is surrounding himself with people who have practical experience doing the things that they do. The NASA administrator that he has in NASA, Elon Musk's business partner for SpaceX. Most qualified person, right? You got this girl here. She's all theory. And you had these economists. Remember these economists? Joe Biden kept bragging about it in 2020. Nobel Prize laureates said, 50 of them said, my economic plan will bring us a strong economy. It'll make our economy stronger compared to Donald Trump's. They were proven wrong. Reality showed you 4 years later they were wrong, because a lot of these economists are theorists. They don't go out into the real world and actually test their ideas. They test their theories and see if it holds up to reality. If you have a theory of reality and reality shows you that your theory is wrong, you must accept that your theory is wrong. Modern monetary theory has been proven wrong time and time again. Government inflation causes government benefits, government spending, especially government overspending, causes inflation. Modern monetary theory says that government spending doesn't cause inflation. This is why these people, like Democrats, like Joe Biden, feel no fear about spending money. Liberal economists find any reason to justify, yeah, it's okay when government spend money. It's not going to affect. Actually, inflation is a good thing. This is the type of stuff they'll tell you. This is what happened with theorists when theorists are running stuff. Because they want to prove their theory to be right and they operate with no evidence to support their theory. While practitioners, people with the practical experience, are saying, yeah, Trump is using tariffs as a negotiation tool. The theorist here, which is I'm talking about Catherine here, she'll say, oh my God, it's going to raise prices. He didn't implement it yet. And even if he did raise prices, he'll tariff things that we're making so that way we can shift consumer spending to more American-made products. We create an environment where we boost up American-made products. I mean, in Europe, they tariff us 100%. This is why we don't have American cars in the European market. Is it fair for them to tariff us out of a market? We can do the same thing to them, especially if we have American-made products here. And this is what Canada's trying to do now. They're trying to get into a trade war with America now. We'll see how long that lasts. They have to rip us off for them to sustain their economy. How's that fair to us? This is the nitty-gritty that they don't want to talk about. Why? What is the purpose of Trump's tariffs? Why is Trump doing the tariffs in the first place? If someone's doing something that's unfair to you, would you just go along and continue getting ripped off? Or are you going to be like, no, I'm going to take my business away? Well, you value our services and you value my money. If you want to continue getting my money, we gotta renegotiate this term. But my services are available. We rely on their services. Without those services, you're going to be in a tough spot. Either I'm going to figure out how to do the service myself or I'll go to an alternative. That's what tariffs essentially is going to do for us. But they have this one, like it's a classroom. There's only one correct answer. And that's how she kind of approaches this thing. And you're going to see here as she interrupts Scott Jennings.
Prices down during the election. But the real anger in the electorate was and will remain with the administration that oversaw the huge inflation in the first place.
Except that all of the things that Trump is promising now in his economic agenda will make inflation worse.
Cheaper energy? I also have to say, for everybody who's...
Especially energy, right? No, not energy. Drill, baby, drill. Oil is always cheaper than electric, all these alternative gas price, like all these alternative energy sources like nuclear. Oil is cheap. Oil is the most cost-effective energy source in the world. I think what? They've been pushing electric energy for I don't know how long. And it's only contribute to what? 8% of the energy grid. Solar energy is so inefficient. If you look at the cost to make solar versus gas, this is why it's so expensive to do the Green New Deal. This is why you're going to bankrupt the country. And just for what? For the climate to still be the same. Climate change has been in existence before humans became even a thought. But here they are. Oh my God, climate change. Oh, yeah, it's called the Four Seasons. The earth was made of ice at one point. The whole earth was covered in ice. So which version of the climate is the proper, you see, theory, but not the practical. The practical is, climate change is going to change regardless if you want it to or not. But how arrogant of a human being to think that, I know the best temperature for climate change, like it's the air conditioning in your house. This is why I don't have no respect for these climate change people. But I want to point out stuff because it's starting to get ridiculous, right? And this is what I'm talking about here. Because when you study history, you get a lot of evidence that a lot of these experts, if they don't have any evidence, they don't have any demonstrable way to prove or validate their theories, they're just whack jobs. The more I study history, the history of intellectuals, the more they seem like a wrecking crew. Dismantling civilizations bit by bit, replacing what works with what sounds good. Tariffs, we could do kumbaya, global capitalism. right? And then you got Europe here ripping us off, 100% tariffs on all our cars. They're allowed to sell their BMWs in our market, but we can't sell any cars in their market. Like, make it make sense. If you want to see a poor remain poor generation after generation, just keep the standards low in their schools and make excuses for their academic shortcomings and personal misbehaviors. But please don't congratulate yourself on your compassion. This is wokeism. The reason why I'm going back to wokeism a little bit, because Caitlin Clark, you guys know, she decided to bend the knee to the race hustlers. And even after, she acknowledged her white privilege and all this stuff, they still bashing her. They still bashing her. Now, this guy uses strong language, but the message is still the same. The woke Negro Basketball Association is destroying itself in real time. These women are nuts. So let's see. The Mystic owner says the league's success goes beyond Clayton Clark. Remember, Clayton Clark, she acknowledged, oh no, people pay attention to me because of my skin color. It's not because I shoot like Steph Curry. It's not because I'm more skilled than most of these WNBA players come before. No one plays like me, right? Even her most adamant detractors will say, yeah, we never seen a player like a woman's player like Caitlin Clark. But it's because she's a white girl. That's why everyone's paying attention to her. Even though there's a bunch of white girls that have been in the league before and they didn't make as much noise as Caitlin Clark. But all of a sudden, it's because of white privilege. Okay. The most racist thing I heard, and then we'll go into the video. The most racist thing I ever heard in my life is when people try to attribute people's success and achievement to their skin color. That is the most racist thing you can do. That's like me saying LeBron James is the best player in the world because he's a black man. That's the most racist thing you can say. So how can you say that, oh, the reason why she has all this popularity, all this success, why people watch her, pay attention to her, is because she's white, because of her white privilege? And this is what I'm talking about, the standards. Thomas Sowell talks about it too. If you want to keep people poor, keep making excuses for their shortcomings. Keep making excuses for their lack of results. Because this is essentially what white privilege is. White privilege, and I think I talked about it in my video, my Caitlin Clark video. But white privilege validates a fragile mentality in the black community. It's a double-edged sword. By saying somebody, because of their skin color, they'll be recognized for their talents and abilities, what incentive do you as a black person have to work on your talent and abilities, to refine your work, to refine your abilities? And Dance with Incels asked me a question about the porn star that got boinked by 101 men in one day. I say it, peak degeneracy. Like, it's a fall of a culture, right? It's a fall of a culture. Like, Dance with Incels always gotta sidetrack me, but I enjoyed the live conversation. The girl that got screwed by 100 dudes, that's some stuff I used to hear about in the hood. I'm just being honest. That's some ratchet culture right there. That's a culture of a girl that have no self-esteem, but it's double exploit. She exploiting lonely men, whatever demographic that goes on OnlyFans, whatever, because based on how I heard the story, you got women online making excuses for it, so-called conservative, right-wing women. Look, one thing I'm not going to do, I give this accountability to everybody. Hey, if you, let's say I was a pimp. Sorry. Graphic, I know. If I told the girl, hey, you know what's going to make us a lot of money? If you sleep with 100 men, 100 of your subscribers. Who would the blame go to? Me or the woman? People will say me because I'm the manager. I'm the one who pictured the idea. But if the idea is women are equal to men, right? We live in a feminist culture. See, this is where feminists start this is where feminists start effing themselves over, right? They cut their nose to spite their face. If the argument is women and men are equal, and even though I'm the manager of an OnlyFans model, right? But the OnlyFans model consented to do the thing. I picture an idea. I say, hey, I want you to sleep with 100 men. Because I think that will differentiate yourself from the other content creators. Because they're not doing this. They're not these OnlyFans models mock their subscribers. But these people pay us well. We got to reward them for paying us well, for being loyal customers to your subscription model. If she consented to the idea, is it only my fault or is it also her fault? It's also her fault. Okay. But guess what? With OnlyFans, guess what? I know I'm gonna come across very vulgar because one thing I can't tolerate people treating adult women like children. That's one thing I cannot stand. If you're an adult woman, you're not a child. There should be no reason people are trying to stick up to you and blame the men. Blame the men. You're providing a service. The ideal came from her. She pitched the ideal to herself. She's her own manager. She's a self-managed prostitute. She's the pimp and also the hoe. Oh, I don't know if I can say that, but YouTube, don't demonetize me. I'm trying to make a very direct point. She's the one who made the idea. So you can't blame me. You can't blame men. You can't blame. It came from her brain. She decided to do it. She pitched it. She put it out there. She made a documentary about it with the help with some other dude. Correct? Okay. She rents it out on Airbnb. Now you can blame the man. Yeah, they're discussing. Yeah. Tell me the percentage of men on OnlyFans. I'll wait. It's the minority. No matter what number you give me, it's the minority. So when I see these women on X saying men are disgusting, men are this, men are that, I'm like, some men are that. These men are that. But you notice how women always get mad. I'm sorry, women, I'm generalizing you guys. But many of you do this. When a small group of men do something, you generalize all men in it. But the moment men generalize you guys in something, y'all quick to point out, oh, you're generalizing. But look at the hypocrisy. But it was 100 men, Kenny. It was only one woman. But who's benefiting more? Who benefited more from the video? The 100 men long term, or she did? It seemed like she did. She made a choice. And once you make a choice, you got to get the consequences of that choice. You got to get the consequences, the responsibility, because you can't have bodily autonomy. You can't have autonomy without responsibility. The only way you can't have responsibility for your autonomy is if you are a slave or a child. So what women online, when you're trying to scapegoat accountability from this woman, what are you inferring? You're inferring that she's a child. So she shouldn't be on OnlyFans. So you agree with conservatives. We should be banning all this stuff. See, the number one thing I always get, like, that always frustrates me is that women do a lot of talking, but they don't do a lot of action. I bet you, because women, y'all got a lot of power in this society. Y'all can make a lot of noise in this society. Why not make OnlyFans an example? If women threw up enough hissy fit on OnlyFans, y'all can make OnlyFans go bankrupt. But y'all don't. Because it cuts into other women that wants to do this stuff. There's articles, if I remember correctly, about liberal women. I'm going to say liberal women because now I'm going to start dividing y'all. That said sex work is work. So if this woman is working technically, who are you to judge her for her job? Now, conservative women can play the moral game because I play the moral game. I'm like, hey, look, this is a rot on society. This is bad on society. Women shouldn't be allowed to do this. Women went from having a fulfilling, happy life with one man to having a miserable life getting screwed by 100 for money. OnlyFans is online prostitution. Conservatives been saying this, but liberals, oh, if she consented to it, what's the problem? One thing I want to end on this message is that I think for a long time I always said this to my female cousins. If I ever have a daughter, I'll tell her this. You can't have it all. You can't have it all. You can't have bodily autonomy and no responsibility. Either if you want freedom, you have to take responsibility. If you want authority, you have to take a responsibility. You can't be like, I want all the authority, I want all the autonomy, I want to be able to do whatever I want, but I don't want to suffer from none of the consequences. I don't want to take no accountability. That makes no logical sense whatsoever. The reason why if my kid does something, it's my fault is because my kid doesn't have authority over himself. So because I have authority over my kid, I'm responsible for my kid. So if my kid do something wrong, it's my fault because I'm taking care of my kid. My kid don't have the capabilities to take care of himself yet. He doesn't have autonomy yet because I'm teaching him right now. He's in tutorial mode right now. But you're an adult woman, and we still got women online. Like, this is what I'm saying. The empathy that women practice, it's a very enabling thing. I don't know, is dad mode's coming out of me right now. I'm being a dad right now, but if my daughter was sitting here trying to justify this stuff, I'm like, yo, you made this choice. And it's bad enough that I found out that the mom is the financial manager of this. So women, is it really men's fault? Is it really men's fault? Like, let's think about it. Let's take the logic down quite a bit. Is it really men's fault? You're saying you're equal, you're this, you're that, you don't need no man, but at the same time, you need 100 men to screw you, and the thing goes viral, and now she wants 1,000 because she's going for the world record. Y'all gotta pick. There's no perfect solutions, women. There's only trade-offs. She made a trade. Regardless if she's aware of it or not, she made a trade. She traded money. She traded a happy life, a long, stable relationship, possibly her mental health, because you saw the light leave her eyes when she found out that she screwed 100 dudes in a day, right? And this enabling behavior, now she's going for 1,000. Why I ain't calling her out to stop? Instead, I think she's mentally health. She's suffering mentally. That might just be the case. But what about the men? The men could be suffering mentally too. A small percentage of men are using OnlyFans. She marketed this video, that the audition, only for her OnlyFans subscribers. That means these are her subscribers screwing her. People that was giving her money for a long time. This is why I say it was prostitution. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired. One thing I am very, like, I don't give a quarter to is consistency. If you claim you're something, if you claim that women are just as capable as men, because if men was put in the same situation, I don't think it's possible. But let's say a man was put in that same situation, and after he finished screwing 100 women, he's like, I felt like a gigolo. I felt like a boy toy. I felt like this. I don't think you'll hear all the sympathy that this woman's getting. If a man screwed 100, let's say it was fat, ugly, these women would never get a time of day with this guy. But he ended up screwing 100 of them for his OnlyFans. Let's say that happened. People will say, and then he ends up crying, so, oh my God, I feel like I was used and all this stuff. I don't think you're going to hear women say, you decided to do that. You made the choice. But all of a sudden, when it comes to them, they want emotions. They want sympathy. No, I want consistency. Two-way street. When stuff like this happens to men, there's no sympathy from women. But women expect sympathy from men and everyone. Oh, she's the victim. No. If you want equality, you wanted to be like a man, this is the world of men. This is the world of reality. You're an adult. That means you're able to give consent. Once you give consent, it was your decision. You can't withdraw consent. This is what killed the Me Too movement, which is another story. Hey, look, Dance with Incels, you know what you're doing when you set me up with this stuff. Give me a sec. Because there's an interesting story. Because thanks to Dance with Incels, there's another story I want to add into this. Here's Megyn Kelly talking about Crystal Mangum. She just admitted after 18 years that she made up the rape allegation against 3 Duke lacrosse players. She deserves life in prison. This is what killed the Me Too movement. You give consent as an adult woman. This is what I'm talking about, bro. The more I see our culture, I talk about this all the time. Our culture prioritizes self-esteem over self-control. What you found out is when self-esteem relies too much on validation, you're too dependent on other people validating your choices. That's the downfall of self-esteem culture. Self-control, demands that you be disciplined. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can screw 100 dudes in a day doesn't mean you should screw 100 dudes in a day. Because what? You could regret it. And it looked like she regretted it, but she already too far in. Now she's trying to up herself 1,000. Then you're going to get another girl trying to beat that record. And she's only 23 years old. The Lily Phillips, if I remember her name correctly. Only 23. She's 5 years younger than me. And she made herself a digital prostitute. Kenny, I think you should take some personal responsibility for getting sidetracked. LOL. I appreciate the feedback, bro. But no, it was an interesting conversation. I know it's a popular story. I think I should have talked about it because I had a lot to say, obviously, about this. But this is one of the cases for why I sway between, or like, we need morality. I see why the founding fathers said that America can only exist with a moral and religious people. Because look at the degeneracy. This is like, if you read the Bible, I know, regardless if you're religious or not, here's the logical case for the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. In the story of Solomon and Gomorrah, the story is illustrating that when you let a country, a nation fall into degeneracy, it will destroy itself. Don't you think the decision that Lily Phillips did destroyed her? No one can say she's mentally okay after that. You got feminists online saying, look how men are using her. She's using the men as much as the men used her. Based on all the people that paid her, I bet she only slept with 100 of her subscribers. So as much as you will claim that the men use her, only a small percentage of the men used her, and she's using all the men. It's a exploit relationship. Two wrongs don't make a right, but don't pretend that it's all on the dude. Because end of the day, who set the event up? Who put the application out? Who gave the opportunity to sleep with her? She did. And as someone who grew up in Christianity and all this stuff, I believe in free will. And if I believe in free will, that means I believe that you are responsible for the choices you make. Just like this lady here. She lied. 18 years later, she made up a story about how 3 Duke lacrosse players raped her. And now she wants to come out with the story. Women, do you want us to treat you like adults or don't you? Like, make a decision. Make a decision. Because eventually, just like the race hustlers, right? Just like with the Caitlin Clark story and how everyone's over black people pretending that they have it so much harder than other people because of the color of their skin. Women, you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to make a trade. Because we had both. We tried it the other way now. We tried the modern lifestyle. You have it all. You can make all your decisions. And all we keep finding, you guys, is complaining about how unhappy you are, how miserable you are. They revised the study and they found out the most happiest people single are men. The happiest a woman can be is when she's married with children. Yet you deny yourself this is how I see it. It's 6 choices. You deny yourself the choice where statistically, generally, most women will be happy with a husband and children. And you forgo that for a career in whatever you want it to be, where you're just going to be treated as a number, as an employee. Look, when men go to corporate America, we know this. When I go to my job, I know this. I'm just a number. If I don't provide value, if I don't bring in more money than I'm taking out of the company, I'm getting fired. Women don't seem to understand that. You're going to get fired. If you don't bring more value into a company than you're taking from them, you're going to get fired. That's why men work so hard. That's why men don't tend to take as much days off as women statistically. Statistically, women take more days off. They work less hours generally than men do. Because they have this idea that, we're like a family. They're more likely to buy into the cultural gooply group. Oh, look, we're doing all this stuff around the world, but if you're not doing your job, you're going to get fired. Men focus on that. I got to do my job. Yeah, the corporate stuff is nice and all, but if I don't do my job, I'm gonna get fired. And you forgo that for a career, right? Women always talk about, what if your husband leaves you? What if your job fires you? What are you gonna say? Oh, find another job. Okay, find another husband. Like, excuses. Like, if you find an excuse, like, make an effort, not an excuse. If you want the family, you prioritize family. If you want the career, just know, hey, you're not the same as a man. A man can wait till he's 40, 50, still have kids. You can't do that. So you have to make a decision very early in life, women. Women always brag about how they mature faster than men. All this narrative they love to push. Okay, since you mature faster than men, you have to make a mature decision a lot earlier than men. You have to make the decision, hey, do I want to prioritize family or my career? If you want to have both, you still have to prioritize one. My route, find a dude young in college, whatever, have kids, have marry young, and then when your kids are aging out or start going to school, you go into work. And you're around when during your kids' formative years, and you go back to a career. No one will know. Oh, you got 3 kids. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's cool. Sure, you may be delayed in your career path, but that's a trade-off. To go to one job field is to deny another job field. And I think this is a concept that women need to really, really understand. Every decision you make is a trade-off. When you make one choice, when you choose one guy to be your husband, you deny all the other men to be your husband. At least that's what you're supposed to do morally. You're not supposed to be cheating in the background and doing all this stuff. No, you're not supposed to be doing that. But that's the decision you make. I think if we can put in women's heads that they have to understand trade-offs, hey, every decision you make is a trade-off. There's always pros and cons to every decision, every path you take. And you have to find one that's worth it for you. Hey, I'm gonna focus on my career. Okay, but the older you get, the harder it is to date. Now you got all these women. Oh, I'm 30. I got a fabulous career, but it's hard to date because the dudes the same age as me is dating younger. Well, maybe you should have, when you were young, maybe you should prioritize finding a guy, finding a husband early on, get hitched. Because if I ask a question, I'm sorry, I went all over the place. If I ask a question, what's harder to find, a good job or a good husband? If I put a gun to your head and ask you, what is the hardest thing to find in this world between these two options, a good job or a good husband? I think the answer is a good husband. I think you can find many good jobs. I think there's many good jobs out there. But you can't say you can find many good husbands. So why not? Wouldn't a logical thing to be is, hey, let me prioritize finding a husband, finding a partner a lot earlier in life. Get that settled, then focus on the career. You can kind of do both, but you have to prioritize one. That's why it was a common norm that a girl will be engaged by the time she graduates college. But, they believe the girl boss narrative, right? And now they're stuck on a path where they're unhappy. And these miserable women, instead of teaching these young girls, hey, don't follow our path, they're trying to get these women to follow in their path. Yeah, go ahead, bang 100 dudes. And then when they catch her on video, the reality of banging 100 dudes. Because if you see the video of Liddy Phillips, before she got into her mess, she was happy, she was excited, she couldn't wait to get screwed by 100 dudes. After she did it, she looked like she regretted screwing those 100 dudes. This is the difference between self-esteem culture. Yeah, queen, go do it. Go ahead. Screw those 100 dudes. Get your bag, sis. And then you look at self-control when she see, oh, I regretted it. I did this. Well, what made you think it was a good thing? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it seems like in our culture, we lack a focus on restraint. Because I think we're a culture that lacks morality. But I digress. I'm done sidetracking. Let's get back to what we were actually talking about, which is Caitlin Clark and how even though she bent the knee to wokeness, they still dissing her.
WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
There has been, this phrase.
The numbers say it is because of one player. And this is the meritocracy I'm talking about. these women don't respect meritocracy whatsoever. They think they have this warped view of fairness. Oh, it's not fair that we're supposed to give credit to bro. If you ask the men in the NBA, who made the NBA the way it is today, everyone's gonna say Michael Jordan. If you compare the current viewership of the NBA, it's down. Their peak viewership was every game that had Michael Jordan in it. That was the highest ratings for the NBA. Now you can say there's other factors. Hey, there was no internet. You know, this was like the only thing in town. You can give me all the other factors. But the point is, when MJ was playing, that was the game to watch. Caitlin Clark has the same effect. And the fact that this owner is still sitting here trying to downplay her and try to, it was other people like Angel Reese. Angel Reese, you mean the girl that missed basic layups to stat pad for a fake double-double? You mean her? The one that made her name by antagonizing Caitlin Clark? She made herself the villain, but then when she got villain energy, she broke down and cried? Huh? You talking about that girl? I'll let her talk.
Phrase has been couched, hasn't it? The Caitlin Clark effect. Why do you think that has been the case?
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race.
Oh my
I'm
God.
be very honest.
Would she say that for LeBron James? When Jokic was sorry if you guys don't know basketball, but Jokic is like a Siberian basketball player, and he was about to win, I think, back-to-back MVPs. And the NBA, the race hustlers of the NBA, sports analysts, they were like, nah, you got to give it to Joel Embiid, who is this black, tall dude for the 76ers. He plays in Philadelphia. They gave him the VP. They gave him the MVP. And I was like, yo, this dude don't deserve the MVP. Jokic deserves the MVP. Joker deserves the MVP. That's his nickname. But because he's a white player, we can't have a white player constantly dominating the MVP. This is the warped idea of fairness that I'm talking about. This is this false equivalency about equity, that people deserve the same outcomes. End of the day, my view is, and this is a short and concise, and I'll go right back into it. If you don't make the same decisions as another person, don't expect the same results of another person. If I study and bust my butt and I read 3 hours a day on math and politics, and you spend 3 hours a day playing sports, basketball, football, and all that stuff, and we get into the classroom, don't get mad I got better grades than you. Just like I can't get mad that you play sports better than me. Because you use your time, you use your resources to invest in an activity. It makes perfect logical sense, but this girl, this woman here, it's the way we play up race. The reason why you losing views, the reason why the WNBA never got built up to near the NBA level is because you had no one marketable. And what do you mean by no one marketable? Many of these players, they're victims. They cry about how things are unfair. Like, is that a mentality you want to teach your kids? When the hard times come, you get going, you crumble and frail, you cry, you give up. Is that kind of message you want your kid to understand? You want the kids to listen to? No. A lot of these players are unrelatable in the WNBA. They're not marketable. They don't appeal to the masses. But it's the way we play up race. This is the finger pointing that I'm talking about. And this is the same problem the black community falls upon too. They don't want to look inward. They don't want to look at, okay, what are we doing wrong? They want to blame everyone else. It's the white folks. It's the Hispanic folks. It's the Asian folks. They don't want to give us a chance. But you're not doing anything to earn it. And this is why I'm tired of the identity politics, honestly. Identity politics is the Achilles heel of the black community. Identity politics inside our black culture is what's holding us back. I always say it on this channel. Your behaviors drive your outcome. The behaviors of the WNBA players is what's driving the bad outcomes they have today. Even with Caitlin Clark, even though she outsold more jerseys than all of these WNBA players, they still lost money. And after this woke-ish, I don't know. I don't think I think they're going to lose more money. I think the Caitlin Clark effect might have took a hit, honestly. But I digress. You don't want to keep hearing me talk. Let's continue with the video.
I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented.
No.
And they
No. There's no equally talented girl. Look at the numbers. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. If you look at the stats, Caitlin Clark had a double-double, 30.10 assist game. She was dropping 29. There was a streak. She was dropping 29, 28 a game, 27 a game. I saw no other players matching her except her own teammate. I forgot her name, Marshall something. That was and she played on the same team as Caitlin Clark. No one else was averaging the numbers she was averaging. Not even Angel Reese. I don't think Angel Reese even scored 20 points. I think the most Angel Reese scored was 18 or something. But Caitlin Clark had a 30-piece. 30. She dropped 30. Double-double. I saw no other player doing that. But yeah, we have girls just as talented. Cap.
never got the recognition that they should have. And I
Maybe
think
in the past.
right now, it is time for that to happen. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover?
Damn, she said, you don't deserve to be here by yourself. Imagine doing that. And Caitlin's just gonna take it on the chin because she's self-preservation. She's trying to save herself. She's not trying to get mugged out there. She ain't trying to play tackle football. Wow. You went from politically neutral to taking a left-wing stance on an issue, and the Mystic owner tells you, nah, she shouldn't have been there by herself. Too. Damn. Now, this is why they say you can't chase two masters. The Bible says you can't serve two masters. You can't serve two ideologies. Eventually, you're going to have to stand for something. And for most people, you stood for the woke left. And then the woke left said, nah, you wasn't woke enough. And you already lost people on the right. People on the right saying, yeah, you condone this false perception that because of the color of your skin, somehow you have an inherent advantage over people, other people. I digress. Let's keep hearing this.
The WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have.
That's a false statement. If you look at the numbers, guys, come on. If you look at the numbers, it's Caitlin Clark. If you took Caitlin Clark out, it would have been an average WNBA season from 2 years ago. It's mostly driven by her. Minute she lost the playoffs, no one cared about the WNBA. But this is what you call wish casting. You wishing something is true, so you're trying to put out a narrative out there to get someone to believe your perception. But I digress. Let's continue.
Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing and their talents.
You mentioned Time magazine.
Yes.
And Caitlin Clark has made a point of using that moment to say we need to celebrate the black players in the WNBA and what they have done, and credits them for being so much the foundation of the success of the league. How important is that?
When in politics, there's a study where they say that women tend to be more communistic in their thinking naturally, and men tend to be more capitalistic in their thinking naturally, right? Men believe that whoever contributes the most gets the most. Women believe in equity, and everyone has to get the same stuff. This is why when I hear black men talking about equity or representation, they always come across feminine in my eyes, because of the fact that I'm like, yo, like, if you ain't contributing enough to the team, then you shouldn't be getting equal credit. If I'm the one that scored a 40-piece and everyone only scored 10 points a game, we won the game because of me. yeah, it took all of us, but I was the main one contributing to the success of the team. Highlighting that isn't a disservice to the other players, but you have to call the reality of what it is. Imagine if the commissioner at the time when Michael Jordan was playing was saying, it's not just Michael Jordan, it's all the players. No one was saying that. Everyone and their mama knew we watching the NBA because of Michael Jordan. We watch the NBA because of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And they try to recreate that with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese ain't good enough yet for them to do that. Sorry. She looked like an average tall girl who, like, she has no touch with the basketball. I'm just being honest here as a basketball player. She has no touch with the basketball. Look at how many layups she missed. Don't come for me in the comment section. Look how many layups Angel Reese missed. And they're telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe those ticket sales. Don't believe those attendance numbers. When Caitlin Clark is coming to town, that's the highest attendance rates for all the players, for every stadium in the WNBA. But this woke mystic owner who co-founded the BET, which is the Black Entertainment Network, that's her. She co-founded that with her husband. You see where she's at. Oh, I have to validate the feelings of other people because they didn't do a good job. It's a failing league. It never was profitable. I think you broke even like twice in the history of the WNBA. You broke even. You've never been profitable, and you're still trying to claim that this is a success. I never want my daughter to look up to any league. I don't want you to look up to these people as good business people. I said, these people, they got to look at their track record. Your league was never profitable. You got one shot with Caitlin Clark to bring in a new, fan base, and you're squandering it by playing activist. What Michael Jordan used to say? This is why Michael Jordan, in my view, he's the greatest basketball player of all time. Because he was smart. He was not only just a good basketball player, he was a smart basketball player. He was a smart businessman. Republican buys shoes too. Now, many black people hate that quote from Michael Jordan, but it's true. Republicans watch TV too. And if you have a league that is a brand that's only pledge allegiance to the left, there's no representation. Like, make it make sense. These people get mad about representation, but they don't want to give representation. What about the conservative? Why can't conservative players be open about their faith, their political beliefs? Why is it that all these sports leagues only advocate one way, only advocate for one party? That's why people like the UFC. You got Democrats, you got Republicans in there. They even made a whole fight about it. I forgot his name. Covington, and there was another dude. He had the Black Lives Matter. Covington had Make America Great Again. Y'all know the fight, a UFC fight. They played into their political division. UFC. It was smart marketing. Everyone watched that fight. People were making jokes. Oh, Covington, he beating up a black man. This is the UFC. That's why I said the UFC marketed itself perfectly. Good. But this is common sense. Hey, let's be neutral. We attract both sides. That's a 50% increase in our viewership, attendance. But the WNBA don't want that. They want to keep pushing to liberals and leftists. Okay, then you're only going to get liberals and leftists. To the point where a girl can't be even neutral on the topic. And they talking about conservatives bullying her. We were defending her. And many people took this as a slap in the face, but I digress. I feel like I don't want to leave just yet. So I want you to play this clip. I want to play this clip of what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he's going to talk about how you should trust the experts blindly. And to me, this is dogmatic thinking. But I digress. Let's take a look.
It's not just always renewed engagement. It's also being paired with a growing distrust of people like you who do what you do for a living, who back things up with data and facts and science. People don't always trust it if it doesn't confirm, their suspicions of something.
Yeah, this is a problem going forward. It's the loss of people's trust in experts. I mean, let's put it just out there in that way. And that's odd because if something happens to the plumbing in your house, are you going to say, oh, I'll fix it? Or do you call an expert, right? Just ask yourself all the ways that you've engaged experts in your life.
But everyone knows that a so-called expert can also scam you, take advantage of your ignorance. So you have to have some knowledge to be able to evaluate what they're doing. And this is some of the nonsense about these experts. This is the trusted experts. A lot of these experts are politically biased. Look at this man. This man literally said that there's no differences between men and women. He made this argument. He had no science. He had no data to back up his claim, because the reason why you're an expert is because you're close to the data and the facts. We don't trust you because you're an authority figure. We trust you because you have a close relationship to the data and the facts, and you are the most likely person to be able to demonstrate why your statement or theory is true. But we don't just believe you just because, oh, I'm an astrophysicist or I'm a scientist. You're supposed to believe me when I say that men can be women and women can be men. People are going to be like, demonstrate that. And you can't demonstrate that. But you say, oh, trust me, bro, I'm an expert. That ain't going to work. This is what people distrust about experts. That many of you guys are pushing a political agenda and you're using your positions of authority to push it. Confirmation bias. Remember that? So maybe as an expert, you are aware that there's data out there that challenges your worldview about how something is, but you're not going to tell me that. You're going to only tell me the information that bolsters your claim. This is why people don't trust the experts. Or they're going to say, hey, I want another opinion. When I don't trust your work as a plumber, I'm going to go get another plumber and say, is this what this guy doing? And he's incentivized to keep that other plumber honest, because if he finds out, oh, you're scamming this guy, oh, he's taking advantage of this guy, actually, you can do this a lot more less expensive, I'm going to give him my business. So even the argument that Neil deGrasse Tyson is using is flawed because he has this false appeal to authority. It's a fallacy for a reason. I just finished went on a long-ass rant. Thomas Sowell, he opened my eyes to empiricism. If you cannot prove it, it is not a fact. It is not a true. Data is data. You can manipulate data to say whatever you want if you mess with the methodology, right? If I want to make it look like racism exists, I'm going to just go to, okay, I'm going to look at speeding tickets. Look, how come black people, even though they're 13% of the population, they make up 40% of speeding tickets? See, I prove racism. That's data. That's a fact, technically. It's a fact that black people get more speeding tickets than any other race. But the narrative that I cast on the data is false, because another expert can come in and say, well, Kenny, you're leaving out some valuable information with that statistics. It's true that black people disproportionately get speeding tickets, but it's also true that black people disproportionately speed. Look at this stat here, Kenny. By race, black people drive higher miles per hour than any other racial group in America. That means as a black person, you, on average, you drive your car faster than other races of people. Wouldn't it make sense if you drive faster? Black people tend to drive faster than other groups of people, that you will get speeding tickets more often because you're doing driving that will open you up to the likelihood of you going over the speed limit? Yes. Taking red lights? Yes. Doing criminal misconduct? Yes. Because of what? Your behavior. This is what led me to my quote, my own quote that I made out of my own brain, because I pondered this stuff. Because when I found this out, when people used to say, oh, criminal justice reform, black man, 30% of the population, but he makes up half the jails. How is that possible, Kenny? It has to be racism. We're being targeted by the police. Then I look at the crime statistics. Black men just commit more crimes. That's the truth. That's the evidence. That's it. I debunk criminal justice. If you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. So if black people do crime more often than other races of people, it makes sense why they make up 50% of the jails, because they broke a law. So it's not racism. It's black people's behavior. And that's what led me to my famous quote on this channel anyway. Behavior drives outcomes. Your data does not prove a narrative. Data can never prove a narrative. That's your job. Data only proves a result. Data proves the results that black men are in jail half of the time. Black men make up half of the jails, even though they're 30% of the population. That's a result of what? Of racism or their choices and behaviors? What sounds more probable to you? Choices and behaviors. This is why race hustlers hate black conservatives. Because when you do your research, when you actually think critically, the expert can say whatever the hell he wants. Hey, let me see how you arrive to that conclusion. You know this thing in math, show your work? Hey, how do you arrive at the answer? Show me your process. That's how I look at data. That's how I look at statistics. And the expert is supposed to be able to explain it to you in layman's terms. That's a lot of power you give experts. But if you don't scrutinize the expert a little bit, you won't know if he's trying to sell you a bill of goods. This is why people don't respect the experts anymore. An expert came out, Richard Freeman, and he debunked the idea that police is biased towards black men. He debunked it. And what the academia did, the man had to have a police officer with him 24/7 because he got death threats because he published a study that debunked the narrative of police bias towards black people. He proved that police are not more aggressive because of skin color. He found no evidence of that. And he was shocked. And people was warning him, hey, you shouldn't publish that. But you want me to trust the expert. When there's a culture of not rocking the boat, don't push out studies that disprove liberal bias, liberal narratives about race, about their coveted narratives. There's a culture like that in academia. This is their building consensus. And if you find evidence, if you find a study that debunks their consensus, you get death threats. You got to walk around with a police officer. But this guy here, he said, oh, don't question the experts. Listen to us.
Your life, and then all of a sudden you have access to the internet and you say, well, I'm not going to trust experts. I'm going to trust my own research. Could have ultimately lethal consequences if you're making decisions that affect your health and well-being.
Yeah. The left don't want you to critically think, right? And they want to talk about how, oh, we don't want stupid people voting. Educated people are hurting this country. Yeah, you. Liberals trust the mainstream media more than conservatives, more than non-Democrats. Liberals are the only political group that majority of them trust mainstream legacy media. Liberals are the only one. They're sitting here defending the Department of Education, even though we spend more money every year. We spend more money on the Department of Education, and we keep getting bad educational outcomes. But liberals still want you to spend money on the Department of Education. They still want to keep the Department of Education open. Why? It's giving you a bad product. It's giving you a bad service. Imagine you get bad internet and you're paying hundreds of dollars on it. You're going to be like, nah, I'm done with this internet. I'm going to get something else. And essentially, that's what Trump's trying to do. We don't need it in a federal level. I agree. And going back to this point about how the left can't handle disagreements, people on the left, they don't want critical thinkers. Because if you have a lot of critical thinkers on your side, you're going to disagree a lot. Look at the conservative side. We disagree on damn near everything. It's so ridiculous. This is why conservatives can never really come together and just support a candidate. Remember the DeSantis stands? Oh, we're not going to vote for Trump. We disagree on foreign policy. We disagree on the extent of how involved the government should be when it comes to abortion. You got some conservatives, leave it up to the states. This is the only realistic political move. You got more ideological conservatives that said, nah, we want to ban abortion. Right? There's a lot of disagreement on the conservative side. That's why I like being a conservative. But on the left, you can't disagree with nobody. Shank, bro. Before I go on to Joe Rogan, let's see if I can find it. Shank, where are you, Shank? Our favorite progressive, Shank. Because he's getting mollywopped right now because he's being called a racist because he disagrees with progressives. Sounds familiar. He's getting a taste of what conservatives had to deal with when they disagreed with the left. Here it is. Leftist tactics of radical left is accuse people of being racist for disagreeing with them because they're protecting vulnerable and marginalized communities. When did they vote for you to being their prime minister? Exactly. Conveniently, this allows you to say disagreeing with you is immoral. This is the game left plays. Is this not the game that the left like to play? They like to play all these they like to moralize. Oh, our guy is so much better than your guy. And then he's about to, he pardoned his son, making all y'all look like liars. Democrats leaving X for Blue Sky because they're complaining, Elon Musk is uplifting right-wing voices. Even though if you look at the data, you look at the stats, it's parity. 48% Democrat, 47% Republican. It's representative of the country. But they're just mad that they cannot censor, deboost, or ban you anymore. This is the real reality of why these leftists are mad. But let's hear Joe Rogan, his reaction to this.
It's my favorite. People keep saying, I keep seeing this where people that go over to Blue Sky, they keep saying, what Elon's done is highlight right-wing voices and accentuate right-wing, and Twitter is overrun by right-wing now. No, this is actually representative of the real country, which is 50-50. This is what you never had before because conservative voices were always censored. Always. So now...
And CNN pointed this out. You look it up. There's videos, there's clips, there's evidence of what I'm saying. CNN, when it was CNN pointed out when X was Twitter, overwhelmingly Democrat. 68% of the users on that website was Democrat. Now it's more politically balanced. And who's complaining the most about it? Not conservatives, not right-wingers, people on the left, progressives. Oh my God, it's a right-wing echo chamber. Make it make sense. These people are so used to their damn bubble. When they get a taste of equality, when they get exposed to people who disagree with them, they can't handle it. They have a full-on meltdown. The same kind of thing happens in the black community. When they meet a black person that don't agree with them 100% politically, they have a damn near meltdown. What? You don't believe that racism is the biggest problem in your life? No. It's only responsible about 4% of the problems in my life. 4%? Shocked at my answer. They hate when I say racism can't stop me. White privilege, it's a made-up concept. White privilege is garbage. What? You don't think white people have an advantage over you because of their skin color? No. It's just so happened many white people come from two-parent households. Only 40% of the white community grow up in a single-parent household. 70% of the black community grow up in a single-parent household. Single-parent households are more likely to be in poverty than married households. So if white people only have 40% of single motherhood and black people have 70% of single mother household, does that not explain why there's a wealth disparity in between the white and black community? Because we have more single moms who don't create generational wealth, typically, who tend to be the poorest demographic, typically single mothers of any racial group. And you're surprised, but you think it's racism. You think it's generational wealth. Okay. Whatever lie you like to tell yourself. And this is a way of absolving themselves of accountability. And I see it time and time again with the left. This is why they like to dismiss, demoralize, label you conspiracy theorists, because they try to discredit you, because they try to shun you. They try to create a negative a perception about you. And I was reading a book about how liberalism leads to despotism. And they talk about the history of liberalism and how historically, liberals have always used character assassination as a weapon in political discourse. Old habits die hard, huh? Calling people conspiracy theorists, Nazis, threat to democracies. It's always been synonymized with liberalism. Since liberalism was created, it always relied on ad hominem attacks, character assassinations, attempts at discreditation. This is the liberals' playbook. Since the inception of their political ideology, they've been known to do this. This is why I'm a big fan of Thomas Sowell. Because if you read history, you find out, damn, these so-called experts in the past, they believed a lot of stupid stuff. Like Jewish people had low IQ because of genetics. Yes, that was a thing in the 1910s. This is why I say I don't believe in IQ test. IQ test, it tests a skill, not necessarily your intelligence. Jewish people came in, they didn't understand English, and they were doing IQ tests on them, and they were failing the IQ test. And then there was this perception by experts, oh yeah, Jewish people are just genetically inferior to Anglo-Saxons. Now, hell, you say Jewish people have low IQ, people looking at you sideways. They're like, what are you talking about? Jewish people are some of the smartest people in this country because they looked through the evidence of the data and they found out, oh, these experts are overlooking the fact that a lot of these Jewish people are immigrants. They don't completely understand English at a high level like Native Americans, like Americans born and raised in America. And as you know, they assimilated in our culture, they perform better in our country. But anything to give marginalized groups an excuse, shielding them from accountability. And I see the same thing they do to women. And I see this as a double-edged sword. But the left don't seem to understand that.
Conservative voices and progressive voices coexist, and the progressive voices, who are the babies, don't like it because now they have people that think completely different than them, and they can't stop them. They're
Right.
used to silence them.
Right.
You used to not be able to say anything about certain things. You would get kicked off, and now you could fully express yourself.
Sure.
And you're finding out there's people you agree with, there's people you disagree with. That is the
Cool.
world. The world is not
Great.
some fucked up echo chamber where if you say
Safe space, trigger, warning. This is stuff that the left created. The left sit here pretending that they're so tolerant. They're not. They're not tolerant at all. Right? And I want to end this off because, you know, I went over my time. I was supposed to wrap this up in an hour. But this Thomas Sowell's quote, it applies to what I talk about when it comes to women and accountability, marginalized groups, minority groups, so-called minority groups, right? Black people specifically. If you want to see the poor remain poor, generations after generations just keep the standards low in their schools and make excuses for their academic shortcomings and personal misbehavior. But please, don't congratulate yourself on your compassion. This is liberalism. This is how liberals think. This is what made me a conservative. Like, yo, like, is this compassion actually helping people? It's telling a woman that let herself sleep with 100 dudes, saying that it's not her fault. Is that the practical, responsible thing to tell her? Shouldn't you say, hey, look, this is the consequences of your actions, and you have to live with that. You caused yourself this trauma. You set this up. You set yourself up to fail. There's a reason why society told, like in many cultures, in many traditionalist cultures, there was a reason why the father guarded his daughter. Like, yo, you even look at my daughter, we fighting. There's a reason why men protect their daughters, to keep them from making choices that they can't take back. Lily Phillips cannot take back the fact that she slept with 100 dudes and traumatized herself. Made her realize, her actions made her realize that she was an online prostitute. Making excuses for their shortcomings and personal misbehaviors. But keep congratulating yourself on your compassion. This is what many women were doing when they were trying to protect Lily Phillips. You're doing this fake compassion, which in reality, all you're doing is enabling people to stay where they are, staying at the bottom. If my son is not doing good in soccer, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, you did your best, son. I'm going to say, look, if you want to get better, this is what you need to work on, son. And I'm going to help you. But I have to let my son know that he's not good. I have to put the red X on his paper. Because if you don't correct something, how can it get better? And this is the conservative argument for society. If we're not allowed to express ourselves and say, yo, we're a degenerate culture, we shouldn't be encouraging women to go down OnlyFans. We shouldn't be encouraging people to worship materialism. This is the conservative argument. This was making me a conservative and not a libertarian. I used to think I was a libertarian, but reading libertarian books made me realize that I'm too opinionated about how society should be. That's what makes me a conservative. Because socially, I have an opinion about how society should be carrying itself. What kind of incentives our society should be putting. Our society should be putting a culture of self-control. You have a duty and responsibility not only to yourself, your family, but also your country and community. You should do something in respect to your community. Hey, you think it's good for your community to have a girl out here selling herself for millions of dollars a month on OnlyFans at the expense of her mental health, self-esteem? You want that to be portrayed in society? Is that the image you want to portray on your society? I think you have a duty and responsibility to carry a positive image, a helpful image. Because if you put most women in the same position as Lily Phillips, they'll enjoy the money, short-term gain, but long-term pain. Because once Lily Phillips, 10 years from now, when she's 33 years old, when she's old and saggy and no one wants to look at her naked butt anymore, she's still gonna live with the experiences that she slept with 100 dudes in a day, 1,000 dudes in a day, that she degraded herself. And when the money dry up, and you know these people are not responsible with their money, was you setting her up for a life of depression. And that's what happens when you live in a hedonistic culture. And I have historical evidence to prove that. Look at Rome. When Rome ended up becoming a degenerate culture, what happened to it? It got cocky, it got arrogant. It thought the good times will always roll, and then they got smacked. And their republic got destroyed. And as a conservative, I'm calling it out. Look, we're about to come off the hit. We're going to fall off the cliff. Liberals going, oh, you're exaggerating. That's not going to happen, Bill Maher. Oh, they're not saying men can menstruate. What cookie talk are you talking about? They're not putting tampons in men's bathroom. What do you do? Look at this cookie conservative. Until it's too late and it's in your face. Then, I see what you're saying. And conservatives always go, why do liberals wait until it's too late to hear us out and actually agree with us? And this is a problem we have in our politics. But I digress. Let me see some comments before I wrap up the show. Dance with Incel says some guy will still marry Lenny Collins. That's her. Oh, I guess that's a nickname for her. I feel bad for her future kids. That's another conservative argument. What about your children? You have a responsibility and duty to your children to be a role model. Imagine your actions and decisions is going to have a negative effect on your family. Not only your kids, your husband, people who are going to be in a relationship with you, right? God forbid, let's say she does find a guy, right? Let's say she turns over a new leaf. That follows her. That reputation is going to follow her. Oh, hey, your name is Lily Phillips. Hey, you look familiar. Oh, yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm not. And then they find out, hey, your wife was the girl that slept with 100 dudes. She banged 1,000 dudes. Cameraman gagging. That's the image people are going to see when they... Come on. Women, this is the problem I have. Women believe in, like, this is the liberal belief, right? And it's a lot of political ideologies in our lives, but liberals believe in, like, personal freedom, like consent, right? They believe that nothing should heed your consent. Conservatives believe in duty and responsibility to your culture, to your country, to your community, to your family. It starts off from the family, because as a conservative, we believe that you owe your society, your family, because the society and family technically raised you, protect you, taught you until you got to a point where you could sustain yourself. And conservatives believe morally you have a duty to pay that society back by leaving it better than how you found it. That's a conservative, like, kind of ethics. If I take religion out of it, that's a conservative ethic. Liberals sit back and think, oh, I'm not obligated to help anybody. It's a very self-centered way of doing things. Oh, society should protect my rights to do whatever I want. If I want to bang 100 dudes, you should let me bang 100 dudes. No. Oh, why you can't control my body? Yes, but I'm trying to help you not hurt yourself, because I believe it's my duty to make sure you don't do actions that is detrimental to your health. But if I want to do it, if I consented to do it, shouldn't you allow me to do it? A conservative is going to say no. A conservative says, no, I'm not going to sit here and let you do an action that I know will most likely hurt you. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Remember? Liberals believe in self-esteem. Conservatives believe in self-control. And statistically show this. Delayed gratification show this. Any successful person will tell you this. Delayed gratification is the most fulfilling path you can get. If you get quick fixes, quick money, fast money, look at these OnlyFans women. After what? A couple years after they lose all their money, they're going poor. They're going to be working at Starbucks somewhere. Short-term gain for long-term pain. Or short-term pain for long-term gain. Short-term pain is seeing a girl, another 22-year-old. Let's play a game, and then I'll end it off. I promise I'll be done. There's things. There is nothing. Oh, the thing is, nothing will change. There will always be plenty more women to follow her lead. That may be the case, but this is. I have a lot of thoughts, but this is why conservatives want to bring back shame. Shame was an incentive structure. Like end of the day, our society is built on incentives. Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. If we had a shaming culture where, hey, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, that was a shaming culture. Hey, you date a hoe, she ain't supposed to get married. That was a punishment for doing something. Yeah, you had the ability to do whatever you want, but you had consequences that followed. You had social stigma. Women hate reputation destruction. That's the number one form of female bullying. Reputation destruction. They try to destroy your reputation. There's a reason why they do that, because that will hurt women the most. A negative perception about them. This is what Lily Phillips has. This is why I think, though, she's gonna be suicidal in like when she's 40 years old or something, bro. If she don't get any help, she's gonna be suicidal because of the fact that she made a decision that's gonna follow her forever. People always gonna remember her as the dude that screwed 1,000 dudes. And any man that date her, he's gonna feel that pressure. That's its own form of shame. So yeah, you can't stop everybody from doing it. But as a conservative, it's more like we shouldn't be condoning it, essentially. Because shame brings a negative incentive. If a woman knows, hey, I'm gonna have a bad reputation if I do this work, they're less inclined to do it. In my view, in a conservative culture, and this is why conservatives believe in tradition, norms, and this is what I said in my family and my household. You want to create traditions that disincentivize your children, the future generations, from doing the mistakes of the previous generation. That's the reality. Okay, you see how recently I've been hearing stories about how Gen Z is slowly coming back to religion. This is why, because they're seeing all the degeneracy. End of the day, the women of this generation is going to be an example for the Gen Alpha. Because end of the day, 40 years from now, you think Lily's going to be, you think she's going to lead a happy, fulfilling life? Maybe. It's quite possible, but many OnlyFans women won't. And that's going to be the example. Oh, I don't want to live like this girl. End of the day, one thing my parents always taught me as the oldest, as big bro, my parents always taught me, Kenny, you're always going to be the example. Either the example of what to do or what not to do. And I think this is what Lily Phillips is going to become, an example of what not to do. So then when an impressionable 23-year-old girl is coming up, she's going to be like, oh, yeah, she got all the money. Yeah, she got all the fame. But I'm going to live till 90 years old. And I'm only going to get that OnlyFans money from 18 to maybe about 26, pushing 33 years old, depending on how well I maintain my body. And I still have to live 60 more years after I turn 34 years old, after I lose all that OnlyFans money. And no man don't want to marry me. No man wants to date me. No man wants to have kids with me because this reputation is going to follow me forever. I think many women, less women, are going to make the OnlyFans choice. That's all I'm trying to say. Our opinions as conservatives don't matter to people like this. Hey, it may not matter, but happiness matter. People's self-interest matter. If I told someone, hey, this decision in the long run is going to hurt your happiness, that's an appeal to someone's self-interest. Hey, why? Yeah, you're right, Kenny. Why would I want to do a decision that statistically is more likely to make me unhappy? Just because of materialism and short-term. Like, I just think the reason why we're making all these bad choices is because of materialism, honestly. Materialism has become America's new ethic. Moral ethic. And I think that's what happened. This is why people respect people with money. This is why you have all these women saying, I need a man that makes 6 figures. It's because we have created a culture of consumerism and materialism. And that is like the highest value, the highest virtue in our society. This is why the richer you are, the more options you have with women. Years ago, your character used to decide what kind of woman you get. Now in this day and age, it's your money. It's what you can provide. It's what people can get out of you that determines your wealth and your status in society. It's because we live in a materialistic culture. And that's what happens when you don't have a moral or a religious culture. And conservatives, one thing as conservatives we can say is that society is going to end up imploding on itself if we continue going down this path. And in a way, you're going to have to try to appeal to someone's self-interest. Hey, you like how things are going? You shouldn't continue doing this, because if you continue doing this, if everyone continues making this decision, like if you look at the younger generation, my wife's going to get mad at me, but okay, she'll understand, right? If you look at the younger generation, most of them want people, younger generations want to be influencers. Right? The younger generation wants to be influencers. I forgot what's the percentage. What's the percentage? Sorry guys, let me play it. A significant portion of the younger generation, particularly Gen Z, express a strong desire to become social media influencers, with surveys showing that over half of them inspired this career path. 50% of a generation wants to do social media, right? But let's deep dive into that. 57% of Gen Zers want to be influencers, but it's constant. My argument here is this is what's driving a lot of women to be OnlyFans models, Instagram models, all this stuff, the lifestyle, because this is what we project in society. This is what we hold in high regard, right? Show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. And one thing I think as conservatives that I think will be a good argument for getting culture to be more be more culturally disciplined, to exercise more self-control, is to move away from self-esteem culture and push more self-control culture and point out the outcomes of these decisions and warning society about that. Because at the end of the day, if society falls, one thing about conservatives, I think we have more kids on average than liberals. So slowly but surely, you're going to take back the culture just because who you have more influence of. I have influence, but I'm going to have way more influence over my two sons than any of you guys, right? So if people like me who are conservatives are having more kids than people who are liberal, and there's stats that show that conservative kids tend to have better mental health than liberal kids, the future will be conservative, especially if liberal women are aborting their kids left and right. Eventually, the future will be conservative. And I think the most important thing, and I'll promise I'm done with the video. I'm going to get off. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I appreciate you guys on the live chat. Please like the video. It really do help out the video. I think I already got 100 people that passed by and saw the stream, so I appreciate every single one of you. Please like the video. I think the most important thing that conservatives can do to affect the future, and I'll end it off here as my closing statement. The most important thing conservatives can do is pass down their values to the next generation, whether that be through homeschooling, unschooling, right? Make sure you raise your kids based on your character, based on your values, based on your views, right? Because end of the day, someone's going to indoctrinate your kid. I'd rather you indoctrinate your kid than some stranger who's not going to face the consequences of the bad indoctrination they give your kids. Because this is what a lot of these woke schools do. They indoctrinate these girls in feminism. Then these girls live their life. Oh, sex work is real work. Get banged out by 100 dudes, and then they end up being depressed all their life because they listened to some liberal teacher that taught them about feminism. This is why it says it's very important to be a parent. It's very important to have control over what influences your kids. My kids barely watch TV. It's a very conscious choice. My son only plays video games. My son has no access to social media. My son does not have a tablet. Because end of the day, my kid is going to be more exposed to my values than whatever the hell the algorithm decides to show him on a phone. And I think that's the number one, that's the silent revolution that conservative can do. Is people around them, you can influence them. You can control what they get exposed to. And we're going to have to play the long game. That's the reality. Nothing happens quickly. The woke people didn't take over quickly. They did it step by step by step. They infiltrated the schools. Then they became professors. Then they get tenured. Then people coming behind them were professors. Then they slowly invaded every section of school. we'll have to do something similar. Oh, conservatives, they don't tend to put their kids in public school. Hey, majority of parents are conservative. So when schools start doing this woke-ish, we have power now because majority of parents are conservative. That's in the future, in a couple of years, because based on the trends, right now we have a slight majority. Majority of parents are conservative, but if there's a tendency, if there's a culture in conservatives, parents to be more involved in the school, they know the government know they can't get away with this stuff. And eventually you'll force a consensus. You will force the government to go along a more conservative agenda. This is the long game. At least that's how I think. I think like that in 10 years. In 10 years, you're going to slowly see, like, Gen Z, oh, it's the most conservative generation. You're going to get Gen Alpha. You're going to hear it. Gen Alpha is the most conservative generation because what? A bunch of Gen Zers are raising them. Millennials like me are raising them. I'm a young, I'm born in 96. So I'm a young millennial. So technically I'm a tweener. I'm a transition year, right? I'm a zillennial, right? As we raise our kids, Gen Alpha is going to be the next conservative. Then you just have to make sure your values get passed on and it's embodied in the next generation. I think that's the game we should be playing. That's the long game we should be playing. And I think the left knows this. This is why they fight so hard on influence. This is why they try to label us like negative things, because they know this is the game. They say what they say. Socialists don't have kids. They have yours. Socialists know this. Socialists know whoever controls the children controls the future. And what sense does it make? As conservative parents, we are the ones that produce the most kids. And we're letting people who don't produce any kids tell us how to raise our kids. How that make that make sense? You don't listen to somebody, oh, Kenny, you should get an Apple phone. No, I want an Android. It's my money. I decide what I do with my money. It's my kid. I decide what happens to my kid. I decide what values my kid have. Who are you to tell me how to raise my kid? Oh, you're raising your kid like a traditional boy? Because he is a boy. Just because you're castrating your kid, making them a trans boy at 6 years old, 7 years old, that is not my business. And it's almost like the theory of evolution. It's natural selection. Liberals are literally selecting themselves out of the gene pool of the next generation. So all I said is, end of the day, even if we don't control culture, we can control what we do. We can set the example. We could be trendsetters, right? Because now it's rebellious to be 28 years old, married, have 2 kids, stay at home wife. That's rebellion now. People are interested in your life now. That used to be normal 30 years ago. Now people are so interested. Oh my God, how it is to have a stay-at-home wife. Oh, how it is homeschooling. Like, people see your life as so much interesting because you're doing something different from the norm. But I digress. I've been ranting here for 2 hours. I appreciate every single one of you for watching the stream. I really appreciate you, Dance with Incels. You created an interesting sidebar conversation. But I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Give me some time of day. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like the stream on your way out, and I'll catch you guys next week. Hopefully you guys enjoy your weekend, and let's go 2025. Peace.